of Sathyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Let us begin this session by invoking Swami's presence with 3 ohms, followed by Gayatri Mantra. Om. 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 Om Bhurbhuvaswaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvaswaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvaswaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Sairam Sister Kirtika, now you can start from chapter 10.
Chapter 10. The Same Baba. Baba has often said that controversy over the point whether it is the same Baba is meaningless and necessary, for as he says, when there are 2 pieces of barfi, one square, another circular, one yellow and another purple in color, unless one has eaten and realized the taste of both pieces, one cannot believe that both are the same. Tasting, experiencing, that is the crucial thing to know the identity. It is significant that Satyanarayana was giving clues about his kinship, nay, identify with the saint of Shirdi even from his childhood, when he taught his companions songs on a Babaji whom no one had seen or heard about, and a place of pilgrimage to which no one who heard the songs had gone. People wondered, "Where is this Shirdi?" they asked each other. Who was this Muslim fakir? Little did they realize that the child in their midst singing and dancing so captivatingly was in a few years to make their village another Shirdi to which hundreds and thousands seeking the same Baba will be coming. When finally the formal announcement was made by Satyanarayana that he was Sai Baba of Bharadwaja Gotram, Abhastamba Sutram, and of Shirdi, he was asked, "If you are Sai Baba, show us some miracle now." And the boy said, "Bring me some jasmine flowers." When they were placed in his hands, he threw the flowers on the ground, and lo, they fell in the form of the Telugu letters Sai Baba, flower behind flower, as if arranged with meticulous skill, and all the curves and convolutions of the Telugu letter perfectly reproduced. The elder brother, Sheshamaraju, who had learnt by long practice to live with the miracle boy, was himself surprised at the emphasis of the revelation. Of course, I gave them the name of the avatar that had just preceded mine, said Baba. When questioned about these incidents, it only meant that he who came as Sai Baba has now come again as Satya Sai Baba. Moreover, the Sais come in a series. After this avatar, there will be another Prema Sai who will take birth in the Mysore region, he added. In spite of all this, the parents and the brother gave ear to men who shook their heads and warned them of the Muslim ghost that seemed to have possessed the boy. So they took him 18 miles off to Penukonda, where at the time there was a very devout individual attracting large crowds every Thursday by his puja of Sai Baba. He looked at Satya and said that he was doubtful of his sanity. The boy rose up in disgust, calling that worshipper himself mad, and throwing large quantities of vibhuti at him from his empty hands, advised him to be more sincere and earnest in his puja. "You are only a seeker, a servant. I am the person you seek, the master," he declared. About this time, two teachers who had known Satya as their student at Bukapatnam visited Puttaparthi. Fortunately for us, they have recorded in print what happened. Shri B. Subanachar, one of the two, says, "My first impression about him was that he was a great devotee like Prahlada. I saw him doing miraculous deeds. I was convinced that he was not an ordinary human being, but a boy endowed with supernatural powers. Quite to our wonderment, this mad boy of Puttaparthi revealed to us that he was none other than Sai Baba of Shirdi. He also asked us to stay there for the night when he would narrate his life's history. We wanted to hear about his life story, as the available books on Sai Baba do not give us any information about his infancy and boyhood up to 16 years. He granted us the boon even before our asking. Our joy knew no bounds. Night came, we heard his life history. We saw Sri Sai himself with our physical eyes in human form. What unique happiness! What boundless grace! The other teacher, Sri V.C. Kondapa, has narrated the story of Shirdi Baba's birth and childhood as given by Satya Sai Baba in 102 Telugu slokas in the book Sri Sai Shuni Saritra, published in 1944. This story will certainly be of immense interest to all devotees. In the village of Patri, on the banks of the Godavari, there lived a pious, charitable, and orthodox Brahmin named Gangabhava. His wife, Devagiriamma, was a virtuous woman engaged daily in the worship of Gauri, the consort of Shiva. They had no children, and that was perhaps the only sorrow they ever felt, for they were always immersed in the service of either the Lord or the guest whom the Lord sent to their door. One day a guest arrived, a person of striking mien, with a tinge of halo around his head. When retiring for the night, he made an astounding request for female company. Poor Devagirima was so shocked that she could scarce speak. Gangabhava, too, was burning with indignation, but of what avail was indignation against a guest who was demanding hospitality? Devagiriyamma went into the shrine room and wept before the image of Gauri, seeking her intervention and her advice. Suddenly, a knock was heard at the front door, and when it was opened, a female with all the artificiality of a public woman entered the house. "It seems you sent for me. Where is the guest? Take me to him," demanded the newcomer, for it was no other than Gauri, come to meet the guest who was no other than Shiva. Once in the same room, Shiva and Gauri had a hearty laugh together. They spoke to each other, praising the devotion of the couple and their adherence to Dharma. They decided to give the two their darshan as well as a boon. Needless to say, Gangabhava and Devagiri Amma were delighted at the darshan, and when pressed to express their wish, they asked for a son to repay the debt due to the ancestors and a daughter to be given away, Kanyadan being according to the Shastras the most effective dan that a householder can give. The boons were granted. Then Shiva, out of his own grace, gave the couple a boon unasked. He told them that he himself will assume human form and be born as their third child. It all happened as the Lord said. Devagiri Amma conceived the third time, but the husband got by that time so immersed in tapas that he started for the forest. The wife too insisted on accompanying her master. The child was delivered under a tree, with birds cooing welcome and the clouds building an arch of 7 colors to celebrate the occasion. So full of the spirit of renunciation were the parents that they left the newborn baby to the protection of the angels of the forest. Very soon, there passed along that solitary track a fakir and his wife, a childless couple, who heard the baby's cry and hurried to the spot. They took it home and brought it up. They called it simply Baba, for they knew not its ancestry or affiliations. The child was fair and intelligent and full of wiles and pranks. One day, when he was about 12 years old, while playing with some companions, he won all the marbles belonging to the Saukar's child. Baba challenged the Saukar's child to bring more marbles, and if he got them, and offer them as a stake. The boy ran into the house and brought out the round lingam kept in the shrine room. Baba won that too, and when it was duly handed over, he just swallowed it whole. This created a sensation among the children, and the Shahukar's wife was informed that the lingam had gone into the stomach of the fakir's son. She ran forward and threatened Baba with the stick. Baba opened his mouth, and lo, she saw therein all the avatars of Vishnu. She folded her arms and fell at the feet of Fakir's boy in the open street. It became the talk of the town. The boy was in the habit of taking out the lingam that he swallowed, and he used to worship it sitting in the mosque. This enraged the Muslims of the place, and they excommunicated even the fakir who had brought up the child. When the boy went into a temple to worship that lingam, the Hindus drove him away, since they feared he was a Muslim by birth. Finally, the fakir most unwillingly asked Baba to quit the house, and the boy wandered about, doing puja to the lingam, placing it a lamp with water instead of oil, but which nevertheless burned like an oil lamp. He was moving along the banks of Godavari River when he was accosted by a Nawab who asked him if he had seen his horse, which had strayed away. The Nawab had searched for it all around all the surrounding area and had lost hope. Baba, by his divine insight, saw the horse, and he told the Nawab that it would come towards the place where they stood, and even while they were talking, the horse trotted in, to the extreme joy of the owner. The Nawab became his disciple and addressed him as Sai, or master. Later, Baba came to Shirdi village and established himself in a ruined mandap there. Satya Sai Baba invariably refers to my previous body when he speaks about Shirdi Sai Baba. He often describes to his devotees how he, in his previous body, dealt with people and situations, what illustrations he gave to amplify a certain point, what questions were asked, etc. He quotes what he told Das Ganu, or Mahalaspati, in the last birth. While telling people about Shirdi Baba, he may be heard saying, just as you have seen me do now, or just as I do while in trance, to make the point clear. When someone asks him a question, today, he starts his reply sometimes with a remark. The same doubt was raised by a man who had come to Shirdi, and he will continue the conversation with the reply he gave that the other man long ago in Maharashtra. He recognizes all devotees of Shirdi Baba as his own. In fact, he tells them, I have known you since 10 years, or though this is the first time you see this Shariram. I have seen you 20 years ago when you came to Shirdi, and the person will find that he had been to Shirdi exactly 20 years previously. He has encouraged many to go to Shirdi, giving them detailed description of the route, the place, the methods of well irrigation prevalent there, and even the pictures kept round the Samadhi. It would appear to a listener that he has long been a resident of the area. When some devotees went once to Shirdi, Satya Sai Baba told them, "Go and sleep in Dwarakamai. I shall come in your dream." And he fulfilled the promise. There are cases of people who had been to Shirdi and who, while returning, heard near Guntakal or somewhere that there is an avatar of Sai Baba at Puttaparthi, and they have come to this place. As soon as he sees such, Baba asks them about the Shirdi pilgrimage. He answers during the interview that he invariably gives to everyone before he leaves the questions which they took to Shirdi. This has been the experience of not a few. The Raja of Chincholi was a very ardent devotee of Shirdi Baba. He used to spend a few months every year at Shirdi, Akalkot, and other holy places in the company of Siddhas and Sadhakas. After the passing away of the Raja, the Rani was pleasantly surprised to hear of the incarnation of the Lord as Sri Sathya Sai Baba at Puttaparthi, and she visited the place. She also persuaded Baba, who was just 15 years of age at that time, to accompany her to Chincholi and Hyderabad. What a surprise it was for her when Baba asked her about a margosa tree later uprooted, a well that had been filled up, and a line of shops that had been newly built. Baba told her that he had seen the places years ago while in his previous body. Satya Sai Baba asked her about a small stone image of Anjaneya which had been given to the Raja while in the previous body. The Rani did not know that it existed. Baba himself discovered it for her. He also said that there must also be found a picture of Sai Baba, and that too was later discovered in the house. 3 years ago, the Rani was rummaging the huge store room at the Chinchali for old brass, bronze, or copper, which she could sell off and save space. She came upon a kamandalu of brass, a drinking vessel used by sadhus, whose shape was quaint and artistic. The water had to be poured through a slit in the handle, and the sponge in the cow's head figurine. Someone suggested that it could be polished and displayed as a decorative article in the drawing room of her Hyderabad house. The mystery of the Kamandalu deepened next day when they found a cobra coiled around it. Baba alone can solve the secret, she said to herself while propitiating the cobra with the traditional puja. She arrived at Puttaparthi on the first day of Dasara, and as soon as she entered the premises, Baba sent word asking her to come up with my drinking vessel. No sooner was the kamandalu in his hand than he showed to the bhaktas nearby the letters inscribed on the vessel in Devanagari characters SAA, followed by a pair of short vertical lines BAA with the two lines again, SAA indicating Sai and BAA for Baba. Surely the way of the Lord are mysterious. Baba has since said that he would get like this the jewel or alms bag of Shirdi Sai Baba also in a few years from wherever it is. Readers may wonder how the saint of Shirdi, who according to all accounts never left Shirdi for years and years, could have gone to Chincholi and Hyderabad and left a kamandalu with the Raja. In fact, it is the honest belief of the Rani as well as some old servants of the palace that Sai Baba stayed a few days every time he came and that he used to ride in a tonga drawn by bullocks far out of town in order to have talks with the Raja who accompanied him. This tonga too is now at Puttaparthi. But devotees who have seen and experienced the avatar of Sri Sathya Sai Baba will have no difficulty on this score, for they know how Baba can be at Madras, Chennai, and yet take tea with the family at Bangalore, as happened once in a bungalow at the civil station. He can hold conversation with a man at Bhopal or be seen at the stall in the exhibition in Delhi or speak on the phone to Menon in Madras, Chennai, all the while being at some other place. To take just one instance out of many, there was a family at Hospit well known to Baba since childhood. The eldest sister was a teacher at a school. The brothers were his classmates and playmates at Bukapatnam. They had heard about the manifestation and had seen him also at Puttaparthi. It was a year afterwards, in 1941, that one evening, a bullock bandi cart brought Satya Sai Baba outside their door. Their joy knew no bounds. The whole night was spent in talk, Baba lying down with one of the boys on each side of him, laughing and jeering at all the jokes with which they enlivened the conversation. The mother made preparations for an oil bath for Baba the next day and a feast, but can her disappointment be described when she found in the morning the empty bed and Baba gone? On inquiry, she found that Baba never left Puttaparthi 100 miles away. Avatars are not bound like us by limitations of time and space. They are a law unto themselves. When he addressed a meeting at the All India Sai Samaj at Mylapore, Madras, last year, Baba's opening words were, "Though this is the first time this Sai Ram has come here, I have all along been here in this mandir." This identity and unbroken continuity are emphasized by him in 100 different ways on all unconceivable occasions. Only the other day at Coorg, he recognized at sight an ardent devotee of Shirdi Sai Baba and even noticed with pleasure that he was life member of Sai Baba Trust. He has vouchsafed to his devotees lockets and talismans with pictures of Shirdi Baba or of Shirdi Baba with his own portrait incorporated or his picture with the portrait of Shirdi Baba in the region of the heart. As a matter of fact, no distinction is made or allowed to be made in worship or puja between himself and the previous manifestation. In fact, there are in Prashanti Nilayam prayer halls two pictures which demonstrate this continuity. They are both captivatingly charming, and the artist seems to have caught the moment when Sai Baba was taking over the mission again. The grandeur and the historicity of the moment are very attractively brought out in these pictures. Besides, it has to be noted that a silver figure of Shirdi Baba is a central point towards which all the prayer at Prashanti Nilayam is directed. Baba himself supervising the performance of Abhishekam to the previous body on such holy days as Vijayadashmi or Mahashvaratri. Baba establishes his identity and continuity by means of a series of significant acts. For example, the image of Shirdi Baba is decorated with garlands that have been offered to him, and no difference is ever made between what may be called these used garlands and other fresh ones. Both are used for decorating the image. During the 9 days of Navaratri, women at Nilayam offer kumkum puja, and all kumkum thus offered is collected and kept for use on Vijayadashami day. When it is all poured ceremoniously on the silver figure of Shirdi Sai Baba, it is as if Baba himself has accepted it and done Abhishekam with it for himself. He is Shirdi Baba himself, and it is he that is worshipped. He has told many people, "You need not wait until you are able to meet and ask me. You ask the old man down below," meaning Shirdi Baba. On the raised platform at the prayer hall facing the assembled devotees are two life-sized oil paintings, one of Shirdi Baba and the other of Baba, both standing and both crossing one hand over the other, Shirdi Baba holding his right hand with his left, and Parthi Baba holding his left hand with the right. The knot of the cloth around Shirdi Baba's head, usually brought to the left, is here found on the right of the head. This is rather intriguing to some people, for they do not know that when the artist who painted the two portraits wanted pictures to copy and enlarge, Baba waved his hand, and there were two small pictures ready therein. The pictures of Shirdi Sai Baba that he materialized had the two hands in the new posture and cloth knot to the right, and so the painter who had that picture as his model put the knot towards the right. Songs and shotras sung daily at the Nilayam make no difference between the two Babas. In fact, they refer to the identity and the continuity in unmistakable terms. In the Ashtotra Sadanamavali, or list of 108 names with which Baba is worshipped either in person or through some pictorial representation, names specifically attributable to Shirdi Baba are included. Satya Sai Baba is addressed he who was born in the village of Parti, he who was living in the village of Shirdi, etc. Baba is also praised as he who is undifferentiated incarnation of Shirdi Sai Shakti, he who is the embodiment of Shirdi Sai, etc. The silver image of Shirdi Sai is there only as a representative of Puttaparthi Baba. For as needs arises for accommodating the latter on the raised dais, the image is removed to the right or to the left of the pitham on which Baba sits, or placed down below the floor or removed altogether from the hall. Once Baba felt that there should be a procession into the village. He said, "The old man should go today," and sent the image in the decorated palanquin. Another time, while he sat inside the chariot, he placed the silver figure in front and armed it with a whip, thus making Shirdi Baba the charioteer. Baba was a young boy when he made the declaration of his identity, so many a doubter posed a question: how can we believe that you are he? A person who had such doubts was quietened by the novel demonstration by the young Baba of Puttaparthi. The cynic was flabbergasted by the ocular proof that was vouchsafed to him. Baba, it seems, stretched out his palms in front of the critic and asked him to look at the open palm. And lo, he could see on one palm a resplendent portrait of Shirdi Sai Baba, and on the other palm an equally effulgent portrait of Sri Satya Sai Baba himself. When the person who had this vision of the two palms 18 years ago told me of this incident, a similar miracle which Baba showed a devotee at New Delhi came to my mind. It shows that Baba uses the same means now, even now, to convince seekers that he who had come then as Shirdi Baba has come now as Satya Sai Baba. The Delhi devotee wrote, one evening, I was bicycling along a deserted road between Old Delhi and New Delhi, cogitating in my mind on my own financial worries, and I had returned from Puttaparthi some weeks ago, and though I was drawn much to Baba, I had not yet been convinced that he was Shirdi Baba again, or an avatar. Years ago, I was advised by someone to do puja to Shirdi Baba, and I had when, fallen in with this new Baba of Puttaparthi. I revolved these doubts in my mind and pedaled along. Suddenly, a question, finished the work for the day, was thrown at me from behind by a hefty individual who was struggling to catch up by means of quicker pedaling. When I turned, I saw a fascinating smile lighting up that face. He was looking at me half pityingly and half affectionately.
Thank you, Sister Kirtiha, for a beautiful rendition. Sister Vasudha, you may continue from here.
Saira, can you hear me well?
Yes, Sister.
I earn my livelihood in the capital city, teaching music to children and occasionally playing the violin at musical concerts. So I thought that the old man must have seen me at some concert or in some house and noticed me trudging on my Hercules along the roads of Delhi. I replied, "Yes, I'm going home now," in Tamil, my mother tongue, and the language in which the stranger had most unexpectedly addressed me at first. Then the old man pleaded, Can you come along with me to the old tomb yonder? I will not keep you long. We both rode abreast for about a furlong to the ruin he indicated, and leaning our cycles against the wall, sat in the shadow on the eastern side. He asked me to sit opposite him, and he drew out from me my problems, one by cleverly questionings. He said that the guru I had providentially acquired was Bhagwan himself. Then, suddenly raising up, he said, "Why do you doubt it? He is Shirdi Baba himself. See." And then he extended his palms towards me, and lo, I could see clearly, as if painted in technicolor, the portrait of Shirdi Baba, resplendent on one palm, and on the other, the shining face of Puttaparthi Baba. I can never forget those twin faces lighting up the palms of the revered old man. It came as an answer to all my doubts. It gave an anchor to the drifting soul. It provided me a new lease of life. Whenever I sit for meditation now, that scene of twin splendor comes before the eye and thrills me with a mysterious joy. The old man then rose, and we both rode back to the road, on reaching which he returned in the direction from which he had come. This was rather unexpected, for surely he could not have come so far just to bless me with that vision. He admonished me once again not to waver in my allegiance. Can you please turn up the page? Thank you. The old man then rose, and we both rode back to the road, on reaching which he turned in the direction from which he had come. This was rather unexpected, for surely he could not have come so far just to bless me with that vision. He admonished me once again not to waver in my elegance and lose a treasure so easily come by. And I watched him pedal away, admiring his agility and cycling skills. But imagine my wonder and consternation the next moment, for he suddenly melted into thin air. Thus, Baba gave him positive proof of the identity of two Babas. The proof called in Sanskrit logic uh, Karatala Karata Malakam, the visual experience, the ocular demonstration, the indisputable fact of the berry in the palm. This is a point to be noted in Baba's wonderful life. He speaks the same words of consolation and courage. He shows the same abhaya gesture under similar conditions, now as he did 18 or 20 years ago as a little boy, thus showing us doubting mortals that he is an avatar, born with the divine mission to uplift and guide. The same vision is what's safe to solve the same doubt, whether the doubter is present physically before Baba or whether he is far away in Delhi, cycling on a deserted road. He has given darshan to a large number of people, wherever they are, and given the lucky devotees clear indications that he and Shirdi Baba are one. Here is a case that comes to my mind when the devotee was waiting at the Bangalore City railway station platform for the train to Mysore so that she could enter the mission hospital for an operation. Satyasai Baba manifested himself before her as a tall, hefty old man wearing a long kafni and a cloth wound around the head, carrying a heavy stick and a bundle of clothes. Seating himself on the same bench as the one on which the lady was sitting, the old man opened the conversation in Telugu and dissuaded her from the operation, saying that it has now become a fad with doctors to cut the patient inside out at the slightest provocation. He told her that he was just back from Shirdi and gave her date fruits, which he said were the offerings from that shrine. He said that the prasadam will cure her, and they did. He also informed her that his ashram was near Viduraswatam, on the way to Parthi, in fact. and that he would be ultimately taking all the inmates of his own ashram to Shirdi. Thus, we see the Shirdi Sai Baba inextricably intertwined in the experience of devotees with the present manifestation of the same Godhead. When puja is done by any devotee of Shirdi Baba now, Satya Sai Baba knows about it. Once a lady at Madras, desperate because her son was bodily ill, laid the child in front of Shirdi Sai Baba's portrait. Years later, she came to know of Satya Sai Baba and she came to Puttaparthi with her son, then a tall, muscular young man. As soon as Baba saw them, he asked the mother, "You had placed this boy under my care 15 years ago, isn't it?" Every year, when the anniversary of the passing away of the mortal body of Shirdi Sai Baba is celebrated at Shirdi, Baba transcends this body, and after some time, when he comes back, he usually says, "I had been to Shirdi." A few years ago, while Baba was at Madras, an incident happened which is inexplicable on any other theory than the one which proclaims the identity of the two Babas. Baba casually announced to his devotees that a close attendant of Shirdi Baba would pass into eternity on a certain date in the morning hours, and that he will have to go to give him a coveted darshan at the last moment of his mortal career. The bhaktas were all apprehensive about what might happen that day. Some of them were very much concerned. Some were very expectant and indeed even joyful that they have an opportunity to see Baba blessing a disciple of his previous manifestation. For a few days, they talked of nothing else among themselves. They watched the calendar and then the clock for the arrival of the historic moment. At last, the day dawned, and when the hour struck, Baba was, in spite of all the precautions of the devotees in the bathroom, seeing that he did not emerge for a long time. The bhaktas looked through the window and finding him actually away from his body, they broke open the door and began to attend upon the body and watching for the signs of movement or activity of heart or pulse. They saw Vibhuti emanating in large quantities from his right toe, and they could hear him speak in Marathi and quote some Hindi stanzas. On coming back, Baba told the bhaktas the story of the passing away of the disciple of the previous body and how he had blessed him with a vision of Shirdi Baba and giving him Udi, which his Guru always granted him. 4 years ago, when Baba was in Hyderabad city, he was invited to the ashram of Godavari Mata, the disciple of Upasani Baba and Shirdi Baba, resident of Sakori. Welcomed by the women disciples with Vedic recitations and the traditional ceremonies of Purna Kumbha, they offered puja. He must have blessed them with a glimpse of his reality and his identity, for they expressed a keen desire to come over to Prashanti Nilayam. But Baba said that he was present at Sakori as anywhere, and that it was the best they remained, and that it was best they remained in Sakori itself. Those who are conversant with the Leelas of Shirdi Sai Baba and also the Leelas of Sri Satya Sai Baba may note certain differences in style, language, and technique. But as was mentioned by Yogi Shuddhananda Bharatiyar of Madras, who had seen and who had been inspired by both Babas, there is an unmistakable identity of machine and message. Satya Sai Baba himself says that he is not as hard or as angry now at ignorance, negligence, disobedience, or superciliousness as he was in his previous manifestation. He explains this difference by means of parable. The mother is usually hard when the children enter the kitchen and disturb the cooking. But while serving the food, she is all smiles and patience. I am now distributing the dishes cooked then. Wherever you may be, if you are hungry and if you sit with a plate, I shall serve you the dishes and feed you to your heart's content. People who have read the description of the elaborate procession to the Chavadi of Shirdi Baba once every week and are thrilled at the grandeur of the affair with its chariots, its caparisoned horse, its decorated plankin, and other paraphernalia might feel sad that Satyasai Baba does not permit his devotees to lavish all that pageantry on him. Those who have read the description of the precariously hung plank upon which Shirdi Baba used to often to sleep might say that Satyasai Baba does not adopt that type of austerity. Speaking about the difficulties one naturally experiences in believing the identity of the two Babas, Satyasai Baba told a gathering at the All India Sai Samaj at Madras in January 1959, the avatars of Sri Rama and Sri Krishna are so different in the various incidents of their earthly careers. They also emphasized different aspects of ethical behavior and philosophical belief. They differed in methods of teachings and uplifting. It is all a difference in emphasis rather than in basic things. It is difficult to get convinced that Sri Rama and Sri Krishna, but few have any doubts on that score. So, to those who can develop deep into my mysteries, can understand that the same power has now assumed another human form. Anyone with running acquaintance of Shirdi Sai Baba Leelas, his miracles, his omniscience, and his omnipresence, his teachings, his universal love, etc., can by merely spending a few days in the holy presence of Sri Satya Sai Baba convince himself of the identity of the two avatars. Baba himself constantly refers to the previous avatar. The songs sung and the stotras used at Nilayam all proclaim it. There is an unmistakable similarity in speech, style, attitude, outlook, and teachings. His Holiness Gayatri Swami, a disciple of H.H. Narasimha Bharati Swami, Sankaracharya of Sringeri Pitham, and a comrade of Swami Amritananda, to whom reference has been made in previous pages, had come recently to Prashanti Nilayam. He was for 1 year with Shirdi Sai Baba in 1906 and used to go to him frequently thereafter. He told us of incidents that reminded us of Don't Shoot miracle or the Jodi Adipalli Somappa miracle and gave us many anecdotes of the Shirdi Shariram that could well be related to the present manifestation also. Even some of the jokes were duplicating. The night before he left Puttaparthi, it seems he had a vision of the Guru, by which he means Shirdi Sai Baba, in which he told him that he had left the Samadhi after 8 years therein, that he had brought away all his properties 15 years later. Gayatri Swami next morning was surprised to hear from us that the Satya Sai Baba was born in 1926, 8 years after the Mahasamadhi of Shirdi Sai Baba, and that he had assumed the name Baba and manifested all the powers associated with Shirdi Sai Baba in his 15th year. The name and the powers, Gayatri Swami said, must be the things referred to by the Guru as properties. So he went away supremely happy that he had his center view and did not much bother about not having the interview. A simple childlike soul he was, reminding us all of Swami Amritananda. Yogi Shuddhananda Bharatiyar says that when he visited Shirdi along with Lokamanya Balagangadhar Tilak and Karandikar, Sai Baba told them that Swaraj won by the banduk would be of no avail. For what is won by force will be lost to force. He advised that Swaraj must be won by and for spiritual progress and prema. Satya Sai Baba also places first emphasis on prema or love based in sympathy and understanding. Already before the two great wars, a materialistic, pleasure loving, go getting, socially irresponsible civilization was becoming a nightmare of fear and anxiety. Between the two wars, the nightmare deepened. In revulsion from it, there was a widespread turning away from individualism and a yearning for a true community. This produced the movement for democratic socialism, but also its perversion, uh, totalitarianism, but both commercial individualism and the barbaric tribalism that sprang up in opposition to it were in their different ways. Object lessons in the frightfulness of a world disoriented from traditional values. This is what Olof Stapledon writes about Europe and the West. But the melody has affected India and other parts of the world too, for the world is fast becoming one. There was another reason too for the avatar of Shirdi Baba. Let Stapledon speak about the need. Scientific inquiry itself seems to be producing important evidence that the assumptions on which the modern wisdom has been based are false. There is strong evidence for telepathy and also for precognition and postcognition. It seems that future events can take effect on consciousness while they are still future, and in the orthodox view, non existent. Similarly, with past events. All this makes nonsense of our familiar assumptions about time and about mind's temporal limitations. To cope with the precognition and postcognition, and even with stimulations, even with simultaneous telepathy, the modern wisdom will have to be transformed. Shirdi Baba and now Satya Sai Baba both have been doing just this to emphasize traditional values and transforming modern wisdom by familiarizing us all with the miracle of precognition, simultaneous telepathy, multi-location, and many an unaimed one besides, to the utter confusion of the pundits of science, thus providing to man that there is a God in him that is whispering mystery all the time. The purpose of the Sai avatars is the same. Only the need to transform the modern wisdom has now become more eminent. Then the emphasis was more on community now. Then the emphasis was more on community. Now it is on the individual. Then it was more on karma. Now it is mostly on bhakti. Then the message was given to comparatively few. Now all are welcome to it, and it is even taken to the doors of the needy. A person intimate with details of the Leelas of Sri Satya Sai Baba, if he reads, for example, the Sai Satcharitra written in English by Sri N.V. Gunaji on the basis of the Marathi book by Hemad Pant, will be reminded on every page of the continuity and identity of the present manifestation and the last. He will find in the book echoes of what he has often heard Baba himself saying and seen Baba himself doing. He will have to rub his eyes to find out whether the book in his hand is about Satya Sai Baba or Shirdi Sai Baba. The book will tell him that Shirdi Baba used to encourage and warn those who went to him, saying, "Be wherever you like, do whatever you choose. Remember this well, that all what you do is known to me. I am the inner ruler of all. I am seated in your hearts. Though I am here bodily, still I know what you do beyond the seven seas. Go wherever you will. Over the wide world, I am with you. On innumerable occasions, Satyasai Baba has said the same thing. While devotees were discussing at Prashanthi Nilayam where to stay at Kotalam on the way of Trivandrum to Surandai, Baba said, "Wait, I shall tell you." And the next moment, he began to give a detailed description of Travancore house there, the number of rooms, the kind of plants in the garden, the height of the compound wall, the location of the phone in the hall, etc. I began to write down the list and he dictated a few more items, including two bougainvillea bushes at each end of the porch. He had seen all that from the Nilayam itself. When we reached the Travancore house, the list was verified and found correct, of course, down to the very minutest detail of a neglected rose tree near the garages. He has proved to his devotees that he is with them always and that he knows every little thing they do or think or speak. When a devotee came some years ago to Puttaparthi, he told him that his ears were suffering pain because of the bhajan in the house. Because of the bhajan in the house, the reason said he was a neighbor who came in and joined the chorus. Though his voice was quite unmusical, he did not know how to adjust the tone and tempo of his voice to the tone and the tempo of the rest. The reference to the pain was, of course, a jest, but how could he know of the grating voice unless he actually heard it? He astonishes people by telling them all about their innermost thoughts and their most private deeds. An inspector general of police, who was standing in queue outside his interview room, told his friend a little challengingly, "Here, there is one incident in my life which, if he reveals to me, hats off to him." And this turn came, and his turn came. The interview was over. He came out of the room, full of joy and satisfaction, announcing he knows everything from A to Z, officially and unofficially. He reads everyone like an open book. When a devotee took his presents and offered articles purchased for the use of another, but later considered valuable enough to be taken to Puttaparthi, he immediately said, no, no stolen articles, please," and gracefully indicated his displeasure. Very often, Satyasai Baba has told persons starting on a voyage or on a pilgrimage, purchase 3 tickets for the 4 who travel, meaning that he would join them as a ticketless passenger. While his physical body was at Puttaparthi, he once saved a pilot from suicide at Kashmir. This was 12 years ago, and the facts were verified by those who actually witnessed the trance. Baba was away from his body for about 12 hours, and he told those around him that he not only dashed the fatal cup from the pilot's hand, but entered the court hall where the case against the pilot was being tried and made one of the military judges raise an objection which virtually foiled the prosecution and forced the court to pronounce a verdict of not guilty. The pilot, Baba said, was a staunch devotee of Shirdi Sai Baba and was unjustly charged with embezzlement of public funds. Mr. Gunaji writes of Shirdi Baba, "Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far wider to Bombay and Calcutta, North India, Gujarat, Deccan, and South Kannada." The same is true of the Satyasai manifestation. Devotees who have gone to England, France, Canada, Japan, and Germany have felt his protecting hand in those places. Mr. GV and Mrs. GV, for example, proceeded to the continent and planned from there to attend the coronation ceremonies of Queen Elizabeth II. They were shopping in Paris when they discovered to their utter dismay that the bundle of travelers' checks they had was lost. They could not locate it in spite of the most desperate search, even in the most unlikely places. They were overcome with sorrow when they contemplated the shame and disappointment that were in store for them. in a strange land. They turned to Baba, as they always did when in distress, and Baba heard their pathetic cry, though they were thousands of miles away. Next day, while dipping the fingers into the self same purse for something else, they were amazed to find inside it in the entire bundle intact. Two of Baba's classmates, while he was a little boy at school, joined the army and were caught in the flames of a fire that blew up in a petrol bunk. Baba said that the accident took place somewhere in the northeast frontier, and this fact was verified some years later when the boys arrived home after the conclusion and hostilities. Baba at Puttaparthi immediately left his body and proceeded to the spot, and as he said, prevented the fire from spreading to the tent where the boys were, though the flames encircled the area. The Sai Sacharitra says, Gauli Bhava, age 95, who made his way to Pandharpur, saw Shirdi Baba as Vithoba and exclaimed, "This is Panduranga Vithala incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and the helpless." Last year, a family of devotees went to Shirdi, and from there they attempted to travel to Pandharpur also. But owing to heavy rains and floods and the consequent cancellation of trains, they could not proceed further. They came to Puttaparthi, and as Baba was talking with them before they left him, he asked the aged father and mother of the group, "You could not see Panduranga, isn't it? You seem to be very sorry that your pilgrimage had to be cut halfway. Well, if you want to have a darshan of Panduranga, look at me." They looked and danced with supreme joy, for Baba himself had become Panduranga for their sake. Of Shirdi Sai Baba, it is said that he was of the form Rama, Krishna, Shiva, and Maruti. The Sacharitra gives an instance of a doctor who, when he went to Shirdi Sai Baba, saw his beloved deity Rama on the seat before him. Satya Sai Baba has, as devotees no doubt know, granted visions of himself as Rama, Krishna, and Kamakshi to bhaktas. Perhaps the experience of Swami Amritananda at Puttaparthi might be a very valuable example of this aspect of the divinity of Baba. As soon as Swami Amritananda reached the Prashanti Nilayam, Baba accosted him, Amritam, and he was genuinely astonished at the familiarity and even affection with which that call was saturated for he said, "Only Ramana Maharshi, with whom I spent 17 years, used to accost me thus, and the voice and manner were actually exactly the voice and the manner of the Maharshi. This is a miracle indeed, if ever there was one." Later, Baba asked the 85-year-old Swami about Ganapati Homam that he had performed for 41 days in his seventh year. He told the Swami all the details of that Homam, including the long involved mantra with which the offerings were placed each time in the fire. The mantra as disclosed by Baba begins, Om Shreem Hreem Kleem Glaum Gam. Baba told him that he had repeated this mantra 1,000 times a day for 41 days and made as many coconut offerings in the fire of the sacred home. But what is the reward promised in the Shastras? Baba asked the old ascetic. He said that the Shastras declared that if the Homa was done with scrupulous regard of ritual, Ganapati himself would appear in the Homakund as the golden colored, effulgent, elephant headed god, and with his trunk he would receive the final and concluding offerings, and he would grant everlasting bliss by the means of the darshan. Baba asked him whether he had the darshan. Amritananda replied that it was not so easy for a 7-year-old boy to get a darshan of the Lord by the mere number and the quantity of offerings and mantras. But Baba interrupted him and said, No, it is due to all that japa and all that Homa that you have come to me now. You will today, after an interval of 17 years, get the reward mentioned in the Shastras. Then he asked the Swami to look at him, and lo, Amritananda saw a golden colored elephant, the Ganapati as described in the ancient text. He was beside himself for about 4 days after this darshan and forsook food and drink and sleep in the bliss which he derived therefrom. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Kirtiya and Vasudha, for your beautiful rendition today. As we conclude the sacred session, let us offer this session to Swami with Sai Gayatri and Samastaloka. Om साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः